Welcome to our new set, guys. I apologize, I haven't put out a lot of videos recently. I've been going through some personal things that hopefully should be resolved soon. But one thing I am very excited about is this new desk we built for our new YouTube channel. We're starting a YouTube channel, Mark and I, about watches and horology. And one of the things I love about watches is just like woodworking, the more complicated they are, the more valuable and sought after they are, the more beautiful they are. Really, the most accurate watches are the cheapest. Quartz watches cannot be beat as far as accuracy, but they really are not what people are collecting. So it's been a lifelong passion of mine collecting watches. And over the last couple of years, I've started watch brokering. And this is something that, just like woodworking, I really love teaching. And so it's something that I'd love to share my passion. So we're gonna be starting this new channel, and this is going to be the new set, and I'm so excited about it. Before we get into the set, I want to talk about this desk and how we built it. We started off by flattening the slab on our new Avid CNC, and that was a treat because I've flattened a lot of slabs but with a router and a sled, and I have a great video here which will be linked in the your upper right hand corner, my left, that you can watch about how to flatten slabs with a router. It's basically the same process, and one of the things that I really like to do when I'm flattening slabs is once you get it leveled, and you really want to split the difference. You find the two corners that are touching whatever it is you're flattening it on, and then you want to split the difference between the two high corners, and you do that with shims. But then I really like to screw it down to the surface because then you are certain that it's not going to move, and you want to make sure that you sink the screws well below where you're going to flatten to. And you can always take a screw out, drill it deeper, sink it deeper down the road if you start getting close to them. It's something that really helps the slab stay in place. I know some people use hot glue, but if you're using a big gigantic slab like this walnut slab, it really makes a difference to screw it down. We flatten the slab with the same bit I would use in a router, which is this Astra coated slab flattening bit from Bits and Bits. There's a discount code down below if you are thinking about getting anything from them. This walnut tree, there's a really cool story behind this. A friend of mine, his wife's family owns a ranch in Santa Ynez, which is about half an hour away from me in Santa Barbara. And he had this walnut tree in his backyard that was over 100 years old that started to die on one side of the tree, so they needed to take it out. And he called me, and we spent, I don't know, 5 or 6 weekends taking the tree down, milling it up. He had a bandsaw mill, which actually I now own. But base of the tree, which was as wide as 60 inches, we had to take to a guy with a huge chainsaw mill. But we cut, milled, and dried an entire walnut tree. In fact, I have a bunch of slabs on my website, and it is just absolutely gorgeous. And it really is special to me that this slab is something that came from 100% my work, which is just super cool. So it's so cool to sit at a desk like this. After we got the slab flat, it was time to put in butterfly keys. And we released a 2-Minute Tuesday this week detailing this process. But I think one of the coolest things that we did was I modeled them in Fusion, but I really don't like symmetrical butterfly keys, so I just modeled them very randomly in Fusion, just kind of using lines until I found something I really liked. And then we took it and scaled it down by 25% and then 25% again. And that way, when you look down this beautiful crack, this crack is unbelievable here. It just, it follows sort of the pith of the tree, and it's so cool the way that it's shaped. And so I wanted it to be very visually pleasing, that the butterfly keys get exactly 25% smaller down the line, and the smallest ones are in the middle, and then they get bigger out towards the edge. So as you look from the side, it kind of has a telescope effect to me. Maybe that's me just thinking into it too much, but I really love the way that it looks. And if you want to see more about how we did these butterfly keys, make sure to check out this video that's in the right hand upper corner that we released on Tuesday about installing them. So once we had the butterfly keys cleaned up, and one of my favorite parts about cleaning up butterfly keys is I get to use my hand planes at the end because it makes so much more sense than sanding. Sanding has a tendency to sort of round over the butterfly key and then create sort of a low spot around it, and it's not super noticeable, but it's one of those things to me when I run my hand across. I love getting that really flat feel. So once we cleaned it up, we sand everything, and with a giant slab like this, I know that the bottom is never going to be the top, so I don't waste too much time sanding the bottom. I'll usually do up to like 120, and then we took the top up to 220. It just came out absolutely gorgeous. We put some finish on it, which I used some semi-gloss Watco lacquer, which I think I got at Woodcraft in Ventura. But that Watco lacquer, it's one of my favorites to spray, and it's so easy. Spraying lacquer is the greatest because it dries in 5 minutes. You can probably sand it in 10, and it just always gives a really nice, clean, durable finish. And because it is a self-wetting finish, meaning when you put a new coat of lacquer on top of a coat of lacquer, it re-wets the surface underneath it to help bond to it. You really get a nice even finish. And the trick to getting a great lacquer finish, you want to do 2 sort of flood thicker coats, you know, that you use less lacquer thinner in your spraying. And then that sort of builds up the finish, and then you sand it down really good with like a really high grit, 320, 400, and that sort of evens everything else out. And then you thin your lacquer more and do like a nice misting coat. You just do a couple, you do one along the grain, one across the grain, and that's how you get this beautiful, just uniform finish. And that's one of the reasons I love doing lacquer, because not only does it look gorgeous, but you can do it in an hour and a half. You know, we finished this slab in probably an hour, hour and a half. It was a hot day, so it was really easy. And after we got it finished, it was time to build some legs. Now, I love the way that these legs look. It was an idea I got from a giant table that Sean Boyd recently built, and I just really love the sort of geometric look. It really is extremely stable. Like, this table is not going anywhere. There's no racking, there's no play back and forth. And it's incredibly strong. The way we made these, I made 4 squares out of walnut. Now, I really tried to vary the width and the height of the different boards we used. So I think the tops and bottoms were 4 inches tall, whereas the sides were only 2 inches wide. I guess it would be, yeah, width, the thickness of the board. We cut them down on the table saw after milling some lumber, and I think it really adds to sort of the geometric look. Now, what I did was I made one, we'll call them pairs. So one pair of squares was 18 inches and the other one was 10 inches. And my thinking behind that was the legs are so much further apart along the grain, so the length of the table, that they don't need to add as much support. There's not as much racking because you have such a wider stance. But when you go the width of the desk, there's a lot less distance between the edges, and so if someone were to lean on it, it needs to be longer and more supportive there, which is gonna stop the racking. We attached everything with dominoes, which made it really easy. This project's really a good example if you're getting into a woodworking as a business, to see sort of some of the tools that help with production. This wasn't for a client, although I consider, you know, the business aspect of the watch channel a client. So we wanted to get it done quickly, and we weren't trying to do a bunch of fancy joinery here. We were really trying to get something that would be functional and gorgeous without, you know, having to put 100 hours into making it. I think all in all, if you take out the flattening time, this took maybe 5 hours to make. It was very simple. It was mostly milling the legs and putting them together and waiting for glue to dry. You know, the flattening probably took, over the course of 2 days, it was about 4 hours, because I was trying to go really slow. The chainsaw mill sort of left some really high and low spots, so I wanted to make sure that we maximized the thickness of the slab, and it still finished out over 1.5 inches, which was just absolutely incredible. When we went to attach the legs, one of the things that's really important that you need to think about with a piece of wood that is this big is it's going to expand and contract across the grain. It doesn't lengthwise, obviously, but across the grain, you can, depending on where you live, I believe it's walnut will expand and contract about 1/8 of an inch over 8 feet. So you need to imagine that it's going to expand and contract. You know, this is about 3.5 feet wide, so just to be safe, you want to plan for 1/16 of an inch. So what we did, I used washers and these really long wood screws, maybe 1/8 inch thick. And so I over drilled the holes. First, the Forstner bit that we used was oversized for the washers by 1/4 inch. And then the hole we drilled out at 1/4 inch for the 1/8 inch screw. And so if you think that it's only gonna move 1/16 of an inch over 4 feet, that gives you plenty of room. We also drilled the holes that go along the grain bigger just to be safe. It wasn't necessary. But when you're doing steps in a project, sometimes order of operations is just easier to do it that way. Once we were able to get the legs onto the table and put them where you like, and the great thing about slabs is there's no symmetry to it, so you can kind of just do what looks good. You know, we laid them out and everybody, Alex and Mark, sort of took a look, and we decided, yeah, hey, let's go with it. We attached them. They are incredibly strong, and the great thing about using screws, we were able to get the screws about 1.25 inches into the slab. The great thing about doing that is if the wood over time, you know, wanted to taco at all, that's really gonna help hold it, keep it from tacoing in any direction. But it also you know, is gonna keep things in place. And they're super strong. They're really held on there very well. And then we went in and put some furniture levelers in there. You know, this thing is gonna get sort of a lot of leaning on it and a lot of talking. And this is probably where we'll shoot podcasts and things like that. So I wanted to make sure it was really durable and strong. If it was like a dining table, it was gonna be in my house, I might put just like non-slip rubber. But the great thing about furniture feet levelers is you can spend your whole project making sure everything's square and flat, but that doesn't change the fact that the concrete guy who poured your slab in your house didn't completely make a wavy slab. So I'm sure all of you know you build a furniture on one side of your garage and then you move it inside and suddenly it's not level at all. So furniture levelers, they're a great addition. You just drill a 5/8 inch hole, pound in T-nut and screw them in. It's really easy, and then it helps you level it. And actually, as it turns out, this thing is very flat, but we had to do quite a bit of leveling once we got in here to get it to be level and stay flat. And I can't say enough about how this came out. To be able to sit here and be at a desk that not only I milled, but that I built is pretty good feather in the cap. And once we finished the desk, it was time to turn our attention to the set. We wanted to build out one wall so that when we shot from another angle, it would still look like you were quote unquote in my office or living room. It took me back to my old framing days. It was nice to use a nail gun, framing nailer again. Built a 4 foot by 8 foot wall, 16 on center. We squared it to the wall. One of the great things about the wall behind me is it used to be a GM plant in here, or a GM R&D or something like that. And so everything is plywood on the wall so that they could attach things. So you literally never need to use anchors or anything like that. So we just we nailed the wall into the other wall, squared it up. We used a ram set to attach it to the concrete and then just put a brace in there to keep it square and stable. And then just put a sheet of 1/8 inch plywood over it. This color we chose a flat, very, very dark, almost blackish blue color because it won't reflect light. When you're shooting, that's sort of a big concern. One of the things, I used to work in paint stores when I was in high school and when I first left for college. And one of the things I'll tell you guys, the biggest piece of advice I can give you is buy the most expensive paint. Really cheap paint, especially a color like this, takes forever. We got the Home Depot, the most expensive one. They had the 1 coat coverage, and it really was. This was over a white wall, 1 coat, and it came out perfect. I mean, it saves so much time to be able to use good paint. So, little piece of advice. Then it was time to put up the decorations and hang pictures, and I've got my beautiful daughter and my 12-and-a-half-year-old golden retriever here to make sure I stay motivated and busy and really do everything we can to make this channel really awesome. If you want to subscribe, there'll be a link down below. We're obviously not going anywhere on the woodworking channel. We'll be posting just as many videos as we do. This is sort of a side project for Mark and I that we both have a passion for, and we're really excited to sort of share our knowledge and expertise with the community. And if it's something that you're interested in, I hope you'll join us. If you'd like to support the channel, head over to the Katz-Moses Woodworking Store, pick up a dovetail jig, a stop block, or one of my new aprons. Guys, thanks for watching. Stay safe in the shop. It's time for me to go. Oh my God, I'm the worst. So I have my dad cup, my dad joke cup. Guys, have a great day.